Everyone, I'm meteorologist Charlie Ironmonger. Thank you so much for joining me today for your noon news and weather updates from the First Alert Desk. Now we've got news out of Catawba County where the first of what hopefully is going to be several suspects in the shooting that happened at a house party last weekend. The judges now revoked the bond for that suspect. The decision came the day after another judge had set a $200,000 bond for Garen Nathaniel Killian. He's 20 years old of Lenore, who's charged with one count of attempted first-degree murder related to the shootings. Prosecutors on Wednesday had asked that no bond be allowed. Killian had not posted the amount to be released. On Thursday, when Killian had a court date for charges involving a different altercation in April, District Court Judge Scott Conrad revoked the $200,000 bond related to last weekend's violent fracas, according to the Catawba County Clerk of Court's office. Now, investigators of the shooting say that happened early Sunday believe at least 80 shots were fired in a crime scene that spanned several properties along a road in the usually quiet residential neighborhood. FBI agents spent this week at the scene examining bullet trajectories. The Catawba County Sheriff's Office has said that beyond Killian, 3 people have been arrested and charged with crimes related to the party or shootings, and that authorities were seeking on Thursday 2 other men also wanted on attempted first-degree murder. Giving Killian on Wednesday the chance to post bond had angered local law enforcement leaders. Hickory City Police announced previously that Killian and another young man had been charged with many counts, including attempted first-degree murder and assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill, for an April 6 altercation in a parking lot that led to shots being fired into a crowd. No one was injured. Catawba Sheriff Don Brown said on Wednesday at a media briefing that while Killian was freed by posting bond several days later, he, quote, should have never went back on the street, end quote, and called the situation, quote, frustrating and infuriating, end quote. Now we want to turn our attention to the ongoing situation in the Middle East surrounding Israel, Hamas, but in this instance now Hezbollah as well, as the Israeli military launched airstrikes in southern Lebanon overnight last night. NBC's Matt Bradley has more.
Yeah, well, those airstrikes by the Israelis struck not just the neighborhood of Dahya outside of Beirut, which is a Hezbollah stronghold. It contains a lot of their supporters and quite a few of their offices and, according to the Israelis, some facilities for building drones. But they also hit what the Israelis said was a drone facility in the southern part of Lebanon. That has happened with some regularity. The Israelis have, since this ceasefire back in November, been striking southern Lebanon all the time. But these strikes against Dahya, south of Beirut, that's a lot rarer, and it marks a major escalation. And that's why we've been hearing from Lebanon's president very, very strong words of protest. But the fact is that Lebanon is probably not going to be able to retaliate, and Hezbollah, which is by far the strongest militarized militia group in Lebanon, is also not really going to be able to retaliate. They've been beaten back very strongly by the Israelis. So it looks as though, at least for now, everybody is probably going to be adhering to this ceasefire, even as the Israelis continue to violate it. Matt Bradley, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
Thank you very much, Matt, for that report. We now turn our attention to your forecast. Things will be improving. They will be improving over the next few hours. Of course, we are still seeing, again, some gray skies. This is what we've got currently over Greenville. Again, looking pretty gloomy out there, but we got to take a look at what we've got in Morehead City and seeing a little bit more blue present along the coast. That is certainly going to be creating warmer temperature opportunities for those of you along the beach coming up this afternoon. But as far as your visible satellite goes, here's what we've got. Again, cloud cover over the east continues to pull away from the area, but it's a slow slog. Further back towards the west, Raleigh enjoying very sunny skies. We'll continue to see these clouds thin out as we head through the next few hours. Again, back to your Morehead City camera through our sanitary restaurant. It's just located over the sanitary restaurant. 79 degrees, feels like 82 degrees, dew points in the low 70s, creating that heat index. Now, heat index is going to be a I don't want to say a problem, but certainly a factor in your forecast over the coming weekend, as air temperatures are going to be climbing into low 90s. Right now, still in the upper 70s throughout most of eastern North Carolina. A few areas already in the low 80s, but humidity remains high. And over the past 24 hours, that's been a fact that has been consistent. Haven't seen a whole lot of change. Now, we got to talk about the opportunity for rain showers through the rest of the day and mostly into tomorrow. Not going to see much. Not going to see much. In fact, looking at dry conditions to the first half of your Saturday, cloud cover will be present at times, but we'll certainly see some sun breaks. But as we head into the evening and overnight hours, we are going to be seeing thunderstorms roll through. This is a picture by the time it gets around 5 o'clock. Thunderstorms moving across eastern North Carolina by 7. Again, more of that scattered storm present. This is going to be a weak boundary that will be dying as it moves over eastern North Carolina, but will still result in possibly strong downpours and maybe even some strong wind gusts out of those storms as they move overhead. Everyone has a pretty good chance of seeing some rain coming in Saturday night, but certainly not going to last all night long and shouldn't really affect too much of the daylight hours coming in on Saturday. Maybe just that tail end from around 5 o'clock to around 8 o'clock is where we could see some daytime storms, but then that sun sets and we get back to our regularly scheduled programming of hot temperatures. 90s for both Saturday and Sunday. Now, Sunday is going to certainly be a cloudier one. We'll have some scattered storms in the area, I think really coming up again in the afternoon, but some lingering storms Sunday morning will certainly be possible, and we maintain at least a chance of rain on each day of next week with high humidity and air temperatures reading between the mid to upper 80s throughout your daytime highs. That's all we have time for today's noon news and weather update from the First Alert Desk. I want to thank you all so much for joining me. We'll be back with more news and weather coming up at the top of the hour. Until then, I hope you all have a fantastic Friday.
This hour of the WITN First Alert Desk is sponsored by Supreme Choice.